The following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Welcome into a Reaction Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yao, joined as always by Mo Patton, sporting the true blue MTSU gear today, as well he should. Mo, how are you?
Better now. That was fun. That was fun. And I'm sure we'll talk more about it at some point, so I don't want to get too much into it right now. But yeah, Sunday was a good day.
Sunday was a good day as long as you were there and not watching the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing is it happened after the Titans game, so you get the taste out of your mouth, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's been some movement on the free agent market that does not involve the Atlanta Braves. So
I have, in fact, we can get into that for sure. I mean, I guess he just missed the East Coast. Missed the NL East. Wanted to hit against Justin Verlander, apparently.
Yeah. Former Washington Nationals, former LA Dodgers shortstop Trey Turner, and the Philadelphia Phillies are in agreement on a contract, according to Jeff Passan, friend of the show. 11 years, $300 million with a full no trade. So,
which is perfect. Every player with a 10+ year contract ends up sucking. So we're in good shape.
He and Bryce Harper will be teammates again for a long time.
Yeah, those two are going to stick around for a minute. It's congrats to the Phillies, man. Here's the thing, if you're going to get back, we know how difficult it is. You got to have those dudes, and those are two dudes. So
and Trey Turner's certainly a dude. So yeah, kudos to them.
As Boo Corrigan would say, they got some dudes.
So Philadelphia has addressed its shortstop situation.
Apparently, Alex Anthopoulos and Dansby Swanson had a conversation.
Well, that's
whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. And he went on to say he didn't want to interrupt Dansby as he prepares to get married. So I don't know.
Heck of a time. Heck of a time to be getting married. That's two major commitments and within like months of each other. That would be tough.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting. Oh, well, Reaction Monday coming out hot here on Main Street Sports Day. We've got a great show. John Bryce is going to join us from Football Scoop, talk coaching carousel, probably some transfer portal stuff, all kinds of great stuff to talk about with him. We'll react to Conference Championship Weekend, college football playoffs, top 4, New Year's 6 bowl games. Obviously, the Blue Cross Bowl finished up. High school football is concluded. It just feels like it started yesterday, Mo. So it's crazy how fast football season goes by. And we'll also talk a little bit about the Titans debacle, as little as possible is what we will talk about, the Titans debacle. As friend of mine tweeted, "This is where I choose peace and turn the game off." Like we were down 21-10 or something. It was like, this is where I choose peace, turn the game off. And I did too. I just after the third touchdown, I thought, okay, there's nothing more that I can see that I haven't already seen. So,
and nothing's going to change.
Nothing's going to change. I'm choosing peace. So I did too. This show is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot to get to. So before we do anything else, Mo, we need to get some results and today's schedule out of the way, and we'll do that on today's rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Monday rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. I didn't have it in front of me at first. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Blue Cross Bowl action on Friday. Alcoa pulled away late to down East Nashville 45-26. It was McKenzie 34-14 winners over Clay County, and Knoxville West took care of Page 47-13 on Saturday. In the early game, Anderson County with a really great football game. 34-30 over Pearl Cone. Also, Tyner Academy down in Decatur County Riverside in a tight one there, 26-24, and Oakland dominated the Beach Buccaneers 42-6.
As did the Oakland girls in a Friday night basketball game, defeating the Lady Buccaneers 56-41. So that game actually was played. Also in girls basketball action over the weekend, Cane Ridge with a 64-36 win over Overton. Centennial down Smyrna 47-39. It was Ensworth 69, Central Kentucky.
Just Central.
Just Central. All right. Ensworth 69, Central Kentucky 44, Cheatham County 72, Joe Burns 43, Clarksville with a 71-50 win over Dixon County, Westmoreland down Clarksville Northwest 36-24, Columbia Central with a 65-52 win over Franklin, Community 50, Eagleville 43, Christ Presbyterian with a 66-17 win over Lead Academy, Sycamore 47, Davidson 33, East Hickman with a 55-18 win over Fairview. Lincoln County down Giles County 73-44. It was Battleground Academy 62, Franklin Grace 51. Greenbrier with a 47-35 win over East Robertson. Hendersonville defeated Mount Juliet 46-11, and Hillsborough with a 38-31 win over Green Hill.
Maplewood blew out Hunters Lane 73-14. It was Rockville 52-43 winners over Independence. Lebanon down Summit 59-52, while Livingston Academy took care of Creekwood 51-35. Loretto 52, Collinwood 51, McGavock 54-49 winners over Antioch. It was Middle Tennessee Christian 50, Columbia Academy 35. Houston County down Montgomery Central 67-44, while Spring Hill and Nolensville played football, maybe 23-21 the final there, with the Lady Raiders getting the win. Pope Prep 50-37 winners over Friendship Christian. Blackman 60, Ravenwood 26, Richland 74-25 winners over Mount Pleasant. Lawrence County down Rogers of Alabama 57-32, while Perry County took care of Santa Fe 40-27, and Siegel were 29-27 winners over Shelbyville.
Also, St. George's defeated St. Cecilia 91-75. It was Station Camp 69, Springfield 55. Wayne County with a 53-43 win over Summertown, the second win for the Lady Wildcats in this series this season. Upperman with a 69-22 win over Pearl Cone. It was Clarksville Academy down in Warren Central 70-33. DeKalb County with a 42-34 win over Watertown. Stewart County 36, West Creek 25. Donaldson Christian 44, White House Heritage 27, and Gallatin 61, Wilson Central 37. In Saturday action, it was Ensworth's girls 80, Bethlehem, Kentucky 43. Battleground Academy.
How are they going to do that to Bethlehem in December?
Yeah. Battleground Academy with a 78-22 win over Republic. Rockvale in the Battle of 99, downing Eagleville 42-37. If you know, you know. Columbia Academy 59, Franklin Christian 29. Summertown with a 61-30 win over Hickman County. Columbia Central with a 48-31 win over Riverdale. 2 wins in 48 hours for the Lady Lions. University School of Jackson with a 60-15 win over Pope Prep, and Clarksville Northwest 50. Warren Central, Kentucky 41.
Boys basketball action. Beach got Oakland On the hardwood, 62-55. It was Brentwood Academy 67, Baylor 52, avenging that semifinals loss. Did the Eagles. Cane Ridge 68-50 winners over Overton. Centennial 58, Smyrna 51. Franklin down Columbia Central 75-61. Mo, like you said, old school rivalry there. Eagleville 65-62 over Community. CPA 86, Lead Academy 42, Davidson Academy 87-60 over Sycamore. Fairview was 75-42 over East Hickman. Ezo Harding down to Lancaster Christian 70-57. Giles County edged Lincoln County 51-48. Warren Central Kentucky's boys took care of Good Pasture 70-48. It was Grace Franklin 72, BGA 68, Greenbrier down to East Robertson 44-38. Hendersonville was a 58-35 winner over Mount Juliet. Hillsboro 60, Green Hill 38.
Independence 79, Rockvale 43. Knowledge Academies with a 57-37 win over Dayspring Academy. Lebanon down Summit 74-55. It was Livingston Academy 71, Creekwood 55. Good Lord, where did they play that? Loretto 64, Collinwood 46. Marshall County with a 64-61 win over Glencliff. Antioch defeated McGavock 46-40. Columbia Academy with a 72-50 win over Middle Tennessee Christian. Montgomery Central 62, Houston County 60. Christian Community with a 47-37 win over Mount Juliet Christian. Nashville Christian with a 54-52 win over Hume Fogg. It was Nolensville 60, Spring Hill 49. Pope Prep with a 76-45 win over Friendship Christian. Nashville, no, I lost my spot. Oh, Providence Christian 53, Franklin Road 45. It was Blackman 40, Ravenwood 36. Richland with a 62-50 win over Mount Pleasant. Culleoka defeated Riverside Christian 76-52. Lawrence County with a 64-49 win over Rogers of Alabama. It was Santa Fe defeating Perry County 72-58 and Station Camp 55, Springfield 32.
Wayne County completes the sweep of Summertown with an 84-80 win on the boys' side. Was the Webb Feet 60, University School of Nashville 49. DeKalb County 60-49 over Watertown. West Creek down Stewart County 71-26. Westmoreland over Clarksville Northwest 73-67. And Harpeth defeated White House 77-74. White House Heritage was a 56-36 winner over Donaldson Christian. And Gallatin got Wilson Central 63-35. On Saturday, it was Battleground Academy with bounce back 64-31 over Republic. Rockville 72, Eagleville 36. Columbia Academy down Franklin Christian 76-45. And Summertown edged Hickman County 63-60. It was Zion Christian 66, Lighthouse Christian of Antioch 46. Brentwood Academy 51-33 over McCauley, and Watertown defeated Mount Juliet Christian 43-35. It was Murray of Kentucky over Montgomery Bell Academy 55-49. Riverdale edged Columbia Central in a game, a really good game, a comeback attempt by the Lions, thwarted though as the Warriors win 53-50. Pope Prep took care of USJ 50-22.
Women's college basketball action over the weekend. It was Tennessee State defeating Lipscomb 74-64. Virginia Tech with a 59-56 win over Tennessee. UT Martin defeated Vanderbilt 66-54. Georgia Tech comes to the Curb Event Center, gets a 59-55 win over Belmont. Top-ranked Thomas More with a 63-40 win over Cumberland. It was Hillsdale 70. Trevecca 55. UT Southern defeated Wilberforce 61-54. And number 18, Louisville comes to the Glass House and falls to the Lady Raiders of MTSU 67-49. Junior college women's action, it was Roane State 74, Ball State 42, and Chattanooga State with a 77-54 win over Columbia State.
Men's action, Middle Tennessee State takes care of the lowly Maryville Scots 69-46. Austin P downs Tennessee State 77-61. Wofford falls at Vanderbilt 65-62. Tennessee, well, took care of Alcorn State just plenty, 94-40. Illinois State, a 87-77 winner over Belmont. Thomas More top ranked as well, a 70-63 winner over Cumberland. Trevecca falls to Hillsdale 78-51, and UT Southern bounces back from their loss to Thomas More with an 83-64 win over Wilberforce. In junior college men's action, Roane State edges Vol State 79-75, and Chattanooga State with a slight upset, in my opinion, 61-58 over Columbia State.
Could you have taken any more glee in that MTSU Maryville?
I probably could have.
Yeah.
but I didn't.
NBA action over the weekend. The Grizzlies pick up a pair of victories, 117-109 over the 76ers, 122-112 over the Pistons. More local success on the ice as the Nashville Predators defeat the New York Islanders 4-1, but it stopped there because in NFL play, as we mentioned, Philadelphia with the 35-10 win over the Titans.
I didn't think this was going to be such a long rundown, but today's schedule, we're finally to it. Innsworth hosting Sparkman of Alabama at 5 o'clock today in a basketball doubleheader. These are all doubleheaders. The rest are at 6 p.m. Watertown's at Cascade. Columbia Central hosting Centennial. Rossview is at Dixon County, and John Overton goes to Father Ryan. Huntland's at home against Culleoka, while West Creek goes to Kenwood. FC Boyd Christian is at Smyrna. Station Camp hosts Portland. Montgomery Central goes to Sycamore. Wayne County's at home against Loretto, and Franklin Road Christian's at Zion Christian.
In a girls only matchup at 6 o'clock today, Harpeth Hall goes to St. Cecilia. Boys only, Lighthouse Christian hosts Nashville Central Christian. Men's basketball action tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Trevecca is at Lipscomb. In NBA play at 7 o'clock on Bally Sports Southeast, the Miami Heat travel to FedEx Arena to take on the Memphis Grizzlies. And at 7:15 tonight on ESPN, NFC South battle as the New Orleans Saints play at Tampa Bay. And that is your rundown.
Oh, goodness.
Finally.
Didn't think we were going to get to it, but we did. We have some top stories. We'll get to those a little bit later because John Bryce is awaiting, so we will not make him wait any longer than we have to. We'll take a quick break right here. When we come back, John Bryce, footballscoop.com, joins us right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. It is Reaction Monday here, and we are reacting to all the things across the landscape of sports. But let's be honest, it's all about college football right now, as the college football playoffs have been set. The New Year's Six have been set. A lot of coaching vacancies being filled, and some coming open due to those vacancies being filled. So the coaching carousel continues, and we're going to get into it now with footballscoop.com's John Brice. John, welcome in. Thanks for joining us, man.
Chris, Mo, always happy to visit with you fine folks back in the mid-state.
Well, appreciate it, man. Hope you're staying warm. I see you're all hoodied up there. So
yeah. You know, most people by now know we base out of South Bend. My wife's a native, and she works for the University of Notre Dame. So we've already had 16 plus inches of snow the week of Thanksgiving. We're no snow on the ground right now, but it's about 35 degrees.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Come on, Mo.
No, I am just fine. John, we won't beat around the bush. Yesterday morning's, well, I don't even think it was yesterday morning. I guess it was Saturday night. It started to become clear that Deion Sanders Coach Prime was leaving Jackson State to take the Colorado job. What is your thought about that situation?
Part of me loves it for Coach Prime and is very eager to see how he translates to the top levels of college football. And part of me obviously is disappointed. I've got a lot of friends in the SWAC, and I've gotten to grow a great appreciation for that league in recent years, even before Coach Prime arrived there. And certainly it's made me following that league, me tuning into those coaches' press conferences as much as I can, me talking to those coaches in the league, it's made it more enjoyable and more interesting. It's undeniable the impact that Deion Sanders and what he's done for the Jackson State brand has had on the SWAC specifically and HBCU football in general. I would like to see a study commission. You know, we see these economic studies done around these communities when they host a big event. I would love to see someone conduct a study of what Deion Sanders' economic impact has been, not just for Jackson State, but the SWAC and HBCU athletics the past 2+ years since he was named head coach at Jackson in fall of 2020. So happy for him. Obviously, he's been a pleasure for me to deal with. I like the way that he instills accountability very directly and very upfront. I loved his quote Sunday when he said, a lot of people think like I look like an old fool, but I'm just old school. And that's the way I'm going to keep it. And I've seen that. I've seen that in his meetings at Jackson State when he tells those guys point blank, you're not going to wear a wife beater to class. You're not going to sit in the back of the room. You're going to sit up front. And if it gets to the end of the semester, you're going to have been in every class that you could possibly be in. You're going to have been so respectful to your professors that if you're sitting there on the line with a grade, this professor's going to think this guy was in my class. He was always respectful. Maybe he deserves the benefit of the doubt, you know, on this one point that makes a 79 and 80 or whatever. I just like the way that he really says that he's going to demand and instill those basic foundational tenets in his program.
John, you made a comment at the start of your comment that you are excited to see Deion coaching at the top level. Is Colorado that?
It is. I mean, look, Colorado's a Power 5. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge the fact that Colorado has had a national championship or a share of a national championship since this university right here next to my house, none other than the University of Notre Dame. It's been since 1988 that Notre Dame laid claim to a share of the national title. It was right around 1990-91 that Colorado did so. The Buffs have played for the Pac-12 championship since then. They've been a little wayward for sure with their odyssey from the Big 12 into the Pac-12. Let's also look at the fact, Mo, that UCLA and USC are about to jettison the Pac-12. And I'm still very curious as to how that's going to work out and how that will extrapolate for those brands and if it will be a great fit. But in the meantime, it leaves an undeniable void there in the Pac-12 for what can be done. And even with UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten, they can't get every kid that's a major college football player, just those two programs in Southern Cal. Colorado, when it's been good, has always recruited Texas, Southern California, Arizona, and its native state there. And I fully expect Deion Sanders will be able to do all of that, plus still attract some guys out of Georgia, plus still attract some guys out of Florida, and potentially still attract some guys out of Mississippi from his relationships there. So, yeah, I do believe it. It's big-time Power 5 football. I visited that campus. It's unbelievably beautiful. It's one of the top campuses I've been on anywhere in the United States, and it's all there for Deion to elevate it.
300 days of sunshine a year, Mo.
300 days of sunshine a year in Colorado?
In Boulder, Colorado, 300 a year. That's a pretty good chunk.
That's not a bad chunk. South Florida and Cincinnati were open at the same time, John. After Dion was announced to Colorado, or right about the same time, Alex Golish, the OC at Tennessee, was announced to USF. Earlier today, it's been announced that Scott Satterfield is leaving Louisville to go to Cincinnati. Was Dion involved in either of those situations? And if so, to your knowledge, what tipped him toward Boulder rather than his native South Florida or a Cincinnati program that's headed to the Big 12?
Yes, he was. I'm not sure he was ever involved at Cincinnati. You know, that came about so abruptly, and Coach Prime was pretty far down the road at that point with both Colorado and USF. My understanding, and people I trust have informed me, that both USF and Colorado offered Deion Sanders the job. I don't think there's any question that Colorado is a vastly superior job to USF. 15 years ago, USF was a really promising job coming up as a mid-major in football, a group of five now, if that's what you want to call it. Jim Leavitt was doing some really good things, but guess what? At that point in time, UCF was really a non-factor in the college football world. We've never seen UCF and USF be good concurrently. Then you also factor in Florida State, Florida, and Miami. Now FAU has had great success or viability the last decade from Lane Kiffin onward. Even Willie Taggart had done some solid things there. Now Tom Herman's going to be in there. So I just think that Deion got absolutely the best job. And you could argue between Cincinnati and Colorado a little bit, but I still think that there's a lot to be said when you're going to be the head football coach at the flagship program of a state institution. And so I think Deion got the best job of those three. I think he got one of the better jobs in this cycle. I'm not sure if he had great interest in the Arizona State job. It was reported that there was mutual interest there. That obviously ended up going to Oregon offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham, who's a native of that area. So it's sort of a homecoming for him. I think Arizona State might have been a slightly better job than the Colorado job, but the Colorado job, in my opinion, is teeming with potential.
What about Georgia Tech? Was he ever really in play there? Obviously, they went with the interim guy, Brent Key, and feels like that's gonna be a good hire for them. But
yeah, I thought that Deion would get more traction at Georgia Tech than what he did, and I don't think that conversation ever got very far down the street. That would have been, if I was in charge of Georgia Tech, I would have tried to look at all the factors, and I think Deion Sanders would have frankly been my first call. I think if I was Auburn, Deion Sanders would have been one of my first three calls. Now, I said previously and publicly that if Auburn got any one of the three of Deion Sanders, Lane Kiffin, or Hugh Freeze, that I thought it would be a really successful hire for Auburn. So I'm not knocking Auburn's hire of Hugh Freeze. I've long wanted Hugh back in the SEC, thought he deserved that chance, think he's an excellent football coach. But Auburn or Georgia Tech, with Deion Sanders' recruiting prowess, with his ties throughout the South, with the things that he says and has shown he will build his program with, I thought would have been a great fit for either one of those institutions.
You hit on it. I just felt like in the South in particular was going to kind of be his sweet spot. And clearly I'm sure he's a national brand. He's a national figure. And I think it was John Canzano, Oregon-based columnist, who wrote a really good piece on everything that Deion Sanders brings to the table as head coach at University of Colorado. But it feels like a little bit of a stretch for me, that campus, that area, how you do have to kind of spread out in your recruiting, like you said, because there's not a whole lot of talent right there within the state. But again, you made some good points. I mean, it is the flagship institution in that state, and he's going to be in charge of it, and you're going to know it.
Yeah, it is to your point, Mo, it is very different culturally than Jackson, Mississippi, or Tallahassee, Florida, or Atlanta, or Dallas, or some of the other places that Prime has sort of honed his skills both as player and coach through the years. So that will be, I think, an adjustment to the culture there. And football, if it's good, then the fans come out en masse, and it's really a neat spectacle. But when it's not good, it's pretty easy for some of the people out there to not care. And I would argue that in the SEC footprint and the South region, it's never easy for people to not care. Tennessee has driven people to not caring much of the past 15 years until this year. But it was never easy for those people to not care. It burned at them. Whereas Colorado, I think it's a little different. They can check out pretty quickly. So I do think Deion will have to use some of his magnetic personality and charm folks a little bit in Boulder and throughout the state. But I'm telling you, that guy has the persona to do it.
Doesn't hurt that the Broncos stink right now either. I mean,
Great man.
Let's be honest. But John Brice of footballscoop.com joining us here. You know, on top of everything else we talked to, you mentioned Scott Satterfield from going across the river from Louisville to Cincinnati, and those two teams are playing in Fenway in a bowl game. So is Scott Satterfield just going to stand in the middle of the two sidelines since they're on the same side and just coach both teams at the same time? What's the deal there?
Well, you know, there's actually historical precedent to that, and we can tie it in to where you guys are. And if I'm not mistaken, when Doug Dickey left Tennessee to be head coach at Florida, the Gators turned around and played Tennessee in the Gator Bowl like the very next game. So that's a little nugget of SEC history there for you that shows 50 years ago there was precedence for this sort of rating your rival in college football coaching. Scott Satterfield has issued a statement this afternoon saying he will not participate in the bowl game for either side. Certainly that's the noble thing to do. And, you know, to Scott's defense, a friend put it to me. He goes, look, he's getting out of town ahead of the posse, and he is. There's been a long-going love affair between Louisville and Coach Brom at Purdue, completely understandable. And Coach Satterfield had a very disappointing 21 season, bounced back and had a nice bounce-back year this year, but left a couple of wins on the table and couldn't get over the hump against Kentucky 10 days ago. So I think he viewed this, as my understanding, he very much had an option to maybe get a 2-year contract extension at Louisville. I think he explored his options and found this as a good one. And there's more recruiting. There's a better recruiting base in Cincinnati and Southern Ohio and Northern Kentucky that he can tap into. As you guys already noted, they're moving into the Big 12. So he gets to guide that transition. So there's a lot of upside for Scott Satterfield. There's also a lot of the term I use with coaches I talk to, and they agree, or they use the same term as well. It's always better to reset your clock a year too early than to wait a year too late.
Absolutely.
Spring forward, don't fall back.
Don't fall back. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, John, there was a couple of years ago, it feels like Satterfield got into an interview process or a search process with somebody that really turned some folks off in Louisville. And I think the tide has kind of been against him in Louisville ever since.
You know, and look, I think all of us, if we had a chance to do something that was considered absolutely very best for our families, no matter how content we were in our present situation, we'll feel obligated to do so. And so I'll defend Scott Satterfield on that. It was 2 years ago when the University of South Carolina was going through its process to hire a replacement for Will Muschamp. Satterfield is from the Carolinas. His parents had been really ill. He had just lost his father, I believe, that same fall. And so, yes, he entered into a couple of separate conversations with South Carolina, probably got a little deeper than he ever expected it to get with the Gamecocks. But again, it was also nobody's going to deny you that an SEC head coaching job, again, at a flagship state university, isn't better than an ACC job at a city university. And so he was looking at a better job to better things for his family. But, you know, don't bring logic to a fan fight.
No, don't bring logic to a fan fight, and don't bring logic to a fan base that has been jilted on more than one occasion with their coaches as well. So Louisville a little red to start with over those type situations, and I don't know if that ever really healed between them and him.
No, you're right. It didn't. It absolutely didn't. And that was the previous AD. And I'm told by people inside the building at Louisville that the previous AD had maybe made some promises to Satterfield that he did not deliver on, which also contributed to Satterfield not only hosting those conversations with South Carolina, but taking them even further down the road. And so, yeah, I think this is best case scenario for everybody. Now we all sit here and wait to see if Louisville's going to bring their favorite son, Coach Brom, home from Purdue. And certainly the coaches I've heard from today are very much of the belief that that's more likely to happen than not likely to happen.
That's interesting. You got some other vacancies out there. Jamie Chadwell finally leaves Coastal Carolina to go to Liberty this weekend, replacing Freeze up there. Was that just the natural fit there that you feel like?
I thought it was a great fit for Jamie. I think it's a great job. I think that right now, with the resources they have, the facilities they have, I would argue James Madison and Liberty are perhaps the two best group of 5 jobs on this side of the country, potentially. I think both have Boise State type of upside. What we've seen out of Boise now for 15 to 20 years, I think is achievable, attainable at both Liberty and both James Madison. Again, they have big time facilities. Liberty has money like a major D1 program, anyone you could think of. The money that they were paying Hugh Freeze $5 million plus, and they're paying Jamie Chadwell $4 million plus. I mean, that's a 400% raise from what he was making at Coastal Carolina. That's life-changing money. Again, that's taking care of your family. When you get a 5-year contract worth $25 million or something, that's generational wealth. You can't fault a coach for wanting to take care of his family. And I think it's a good job. I think it's a good roster. I think you can win there. It's curious to see how they continue to navigate college football as an independent, but they've had some attractive matchups. They beat Arkansas this year.
They're going Conference USA though.
Yeah, that's right. They beat Arkansas this year. They played at Ole Miss last year. They've played some other big-time foes like that. They've played Coastal Carolina and had some good matchups with them. They played BYU home and away. So a lot of those things I really like about that Liberty job.
Yeah, going to a conference is going to be either really good or really bad for Liberty. It could backfire, but that's neither here nor there. And speaking of gambles, I'm from Birmingham, so I'm really interested in what's going to happen with Trent Dilfer and the Blazers. How do you view that hire?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's a really, really good hire. I'm a big fan of that hire. I think it's got a chance to be really good for Birmingham. I think that UAB AD Mark Ingram, who I believe is a finalist for the Mississippi State job, certainly he's worthy of being a finalist. He's been at Georgia, Missouri, Temple, and Tennessee all. I think it's a real bold hire. I think it's a nice hire. And look, that program has been built by high school coaches that have had strong success, from Bill Clark to Bryant Vincent this past year as the interim. Dilfer's contacts. He's not having to coach for the money. Look, when you talk about a couple of highly unorthodox hires in this cycle, or you could even argue there's 3 of them, with Dion to Colorado, Trent Dilfer to UAB, and Biff Poggi to Charlotte, I put Dilfer on a par with the Dion hire, and I'm very mystified by the Charlotte Biff Poggi hire.
Well, there you go.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. Read up on it, Mo. He coached he's a businessman who's made hundreds of millions of dollars, was coaching a private Catholic school in the Baltimore area, left that post to become right-hand man in an off-field role for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. And it's my understanding that he reached out to Charlotte officials during their search and said, "You need to interview me. I should be your next head coach." And he did.
And they said, okay, huh?
And he blew them away and got the job. Now he's starting to put together a really nice staff. He just hired Kyle Devan, a former NFL offensive lineman who'd been on staff at Colorado. He just hired Rod Ojong, who I think is one of the best secondary coaches in all of college football. So in CEO fashion, which is his background, if he assembles the right staff, he'll have a chance for success. And I am bullish on the prospects of that Charlotte job. But I'm taking a much more conservative approach to his hire than I am those of Dion and Trent Dilfer.
There you go. John Brice of footballscoop.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. John, as always, great stuff. We appreciate you taking some time with us today. It was very enlightening.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate it very much. Always have a heart for my Tennessee friends. I hope you had great Thanksgivings. And if we don't visit again, I wish you the best. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks, John. You too, man. Stay warm up there.
Thanks, boys.
Okay.
Wow. Bullish on Dilfer and Prime. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, cautiously optimistic at best on both of them, man, because
Look,
the
I think
Dion, there's nothing simple about Dion to Colorado. I mean, it's not cut and dried. It's not he's gonna be a drop dead success. It's not that he's gonna fail miserably. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I mean, you can't say he doesn't deserve the shot.
well, Mo, I was sitting there thinking about it when he was hired at Jackson State. We talked about how it was either going to be is going to blow up in their face or it was going to be a massive success. And over the last 2 years, it's been a massive success.
It's been a massive success. You can't argue anything other than that. Now, I mean, I'm interested to see what the aftermath is going to be at Jackson State, much like I'm interested really to see what the aftermath is going to be at Lipscomb Academy, be honest.
Yeah, both as interesting as those college jobs are, that it certainly makes the new jobs, it makes the previous jobs even more intriguing as to how do you follow that?
Yeah.
How do you follow Deion Sanders at Jackson State? Who is taking that job? It's like following Nick Saban or Bear Bryant. You really want to do that? I mean, and I'm not saying that Coach Prime is on that level as a coach. I'm just saying what he did for those programs, elevating Jackson State to another level. I mean, back-to-back Celebration Bowls. When's the last time that happened at Jackson State?
There's a question that's really been brewing in my head over the last 36 hours or so. Where, and neither of us is equipped to answer this, but I would love to ask somebody with an HBCU background, who historically or where does Deion rank among HBCU football coaches who probably could have gone on to Power 5 major college football success had they had the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean,
I'd love to get into that, but
there are 4 or 5 names that you would think, had it been a different time, some of those coaches certainly would have gotten looks at Power 5 jobs
based on their coaching ability, not on their celebrity status, maybe, for lack of a better phrase.
Sure. So it's interesting. I mean, again, when's the last time Jackson State went to back-to-back Celebration Bowls? Couldn't tell you, because Jackson State has not really been historically that great at football. I mean, they've been good at times, but they've never been consistently this level. Now, granted, this is what I said. This is what I said on Twitter, and this is the fact. We don't know if Deion can coach. We don't know.
I think there's any number of people that you could say that about.
The reason I say that is because it's pretty easy to win the SWAC when you got a 5-star quarterback. So if you can't coach, you better have them dudes.
You better have some dudes.
Now, here's the thing. USC and UCLA gone. You got Oregon, you got Utah. Those are 2 pretty good programs, but outside
Washington's
of that,
up there.
Washington now with Michael Penix coming back. That's big, by the way. All of the, the Pac-12 isn't any, it's not going to be a cakewalk, but it certainly helps when USC isn't involved. That being said, if these reports are true about the 200 kids reaching out and a lot of these folks, the kid from IMG who decommitted from where was he committed? I think Florida State. I'm not sure. He was IMG had a kid a wide receiver, 5-star, just committed to Colorado. So I mean, this can be done. I think he can be successful there. Again, 300 days of sunshine a year and 55 is shorts weather. So Boulder's not a bad place to be if you got to be somewhere. And I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I think he is going to get some dudes. I think they're going to be a problem. And if you're Nebraska, you got to be ticked. because that's that's kind of the same job, except he's got a little easier row to hoe, and it's going to be tough. I'll be surprised if he's not at least somewhat successful, at least successful enough to use this as a stepping stone to a better Power 5 job. So
it's going to be a wild ride.
Yes, it is. Let's talk college football playoffs real quick. When we come back, we'll take a break here, and top 4, New Year's 6, all of that coming your way here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Our thoughts right after this. This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice. Welcome back in Reaction Monday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Yeah, it's college football playoff time. The top 4 was announced on Sunday. It was actually announced a little bit earlier than expected, as FanDuel accidentally, I don't know how FanDuel had the information, but FanDuel put out lines for all of the New Year's 6 bowl games before they were even announced on ESPN. So congrats to the FanDuel folks, but we knew that Ohio State was going to be the number 4 team pretty early in that, and that is how it turned out. Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State, the top 4. After what happened in championship weekend, Mo, are you surprised?
I really didn't know what to expect. I really, I guess I am a little surprised, because I figured Alabama was going to wind up at number 4.
I did too.
In there,
as I told you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I would almost like to have just kept the number 4 spot vacated, to be honest, and just played Michigan and TCU and let the winner play Georgia.
Honestly, that's kind of what, it's funny that you say that, because I'm sitting here thinking I'd almost like to see Bama, Ohio State, or to play for that 4 spot, even though I still think Tennessee should be number 5.
Yeah, I mean,
that's neither here nor there.
Thing. If you're talking Alabama versus Ohio State, how are you not talking Tennessee?
Well, apparently they just weren't. Boo Corrigan basically said Tennessee is not a factor.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Which is ridiculous.
That's unfortunate. If Tennessee was not a factor, that's tough. But I have a tough time. I can't really even fathom that discussion. So that's why I'm glad Alabama and Tennessee were both left out, because if Alabama had been in, then I don't understand that. And
a riot would have ensued.
No one's going to be able to explain that rationally.
Which is exactly why I think Ohio State is in.
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably thought Alabama was the better team.
I don't think Ohio State deserves to be in either.
No.
Really. But I can take that a little bit better, really, than I could have taken Alabama.
Well, and that's, I was always upset and angry and, just so frustrated with the committee, because it felt like Alabama was going to end up getting the benefit of the doubt. much like they did in 17.
Think so.
And, you know, but they didn't. So I'm not nearly as I don't even care that Alabama's 5, Tennessee 6. Who cares? The bowl games are what they are. I'd much rather be playing. I'd love to play Kansas State because I think it's, it would be an interesting game in the Sugar Bowl, but much rather, get a shot at Dabo if we can.
That's it. That is exactly it.
You got the Orange Bowl, 2 teams that wear orange. It's the perfect scenario. And then, Alabama didn't get in, so it really doesn't matter. They're not playing for anything more than Tennessee's playing for, and I'm okay with that. Tennessee beat Alabama. They finished second in the SEC, and I'll take it.
Yep.
So
and I mean, and they did it all ahead of schedule.
They did it all ahead of schedule. I'm in no way upset at this point. I mean, like you said, I don't think necessarily Ohio State deserved it.
But I know Alabama didn't.
But who did? And it's kind of like those old all-state selections. So and so should have been on it. Well, who else? Who you gonna take off?
Who you gonna take off? Yeah.
So kind of the opposite here.
I mean, I don't know who you put in if it's not Ohio State, really. I mean, if it's not Ohio State and if it's not Tennessee, then I don't know who it is. Because it doesn't need to be Alabama. It doesn't need to be Clemson. I mean, who?
You could have put Tulane in there, and I would have been like, well, that's just as good of an option as any of the others.
You could have put Utah in. Even though they've got the loss to Florida. And
well,
I mean,
their other loss, I think, was Washington, right?
Was bad. I mean,
I'm not sure.
But I mean, that kind of speaks to the point. I mean, once you get past Georgia, Michigan, TCU, there's not a clear cut.
There's not. And are you surprised TCU didn't drop at all?
With this committee, no.
I'm a little surprised that they didn't match up Michigan, Ohio State.
And I think that's what they were trying to stay away from.
I think so too.
I think that's why TCU didn't drop. TCU should have dropped. But then you would have had Michigan, Ohio State in the semifinals.
Right. And where do you
and how do you, and again, you're not even sure Ohio State should be 4. They damn sure shouldn't be 3.
Right. So that's kind of where you're at. TCU beat every team they played. They beat Kansas State once. They Tulane also beat Kansas State though, by the way.
Number 16 Tulane.
That's if Tulane had not lost to Southern Miss, we'd be seriously having a conversation about Tulane in the top 10 at least, because their only losses would have been to UCF, who they avenged in the conference championship game, and they beat Kansas State. They'd be 12-1 right now with a win over a top 10 team, and they're going to end up playing is it USC, I believe, in the
I believe so.
So this is, and if Washington doesn't lose to Arizona State, then they're in the Big Ten, or they're in the Pac-12 championship game with a chance to really probably get in, because both of those would have been 11-1 teams basically playing for the number 4 spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's crazy is
that's the thing though. And we talked about it a little bit last week. I think it's like everybody had that one clunker.
Everybody,
if they hadn't lost to,
that's right.
Fill in the blank.
I mean, Tennessee and Clemson, both with South Carolina, Utah with Florida. I mean, if Utah doesn't lose to Florida, they're probably the number 14.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kicker there. Kansas State, USC, both their losses to Utah. Penn State beats either Michigan or Ohio State. They're probably in. I mean, who knows? It is crazy to think about how much parity there is outside the top 2 teams. Because trust me, I think Michigan's going to destroy TCU.
I think Michigan's going to destroy TCU. I think Georgia would have destroyed TCU. I'm really intrigued by this. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this Georgia-Ohio State game after what Michigan did to Ohio State.
Well, and after what Georgia did to Michigan last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be double as bad as last year, but
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much shapes up as the Georgia Invitational here. I mean,
it really does feel like the Georgia Invitational.
so
And we were sitting here worried about Stetson Bennett.
who? They're going to put up a statue of that dude.
They better. I mean, look, I think this year would have been a lot of fun with a 12-team playoff just because everybody but Georgia would have been every game would have been a good game. As you take a look at
unless Georgia was playing in it. Yeah.
Right. You take a look at the New Year's 6 matchups. If you want to throw those up, Justin, you've got, Tennessee, Clemson. I think that's a really good game. It's a much better game if
guess that's a no. Oh, there
if
it is.
Tennessee has Hendon Hooker, and it's probably a much better, much more competitive game if Clemson has DJ Uiagalelei,
who is in the transfer portal, by the way.
Who is now officially in the transfer portal after being benched and essentially losing his job during the ACC championship game. Yeah, so backup quarterback bowl there. The Sugar Bowl, Alabama's probably going to embarrass the SEC by losing and then say they didn't really care about being there. That's probably
don't go.
Don't accept. Yeah, I mean,
don't go.
Go to the Birmingham Bowl if you don't care about.
We will not seek, nor will we accept the Sugar Bowl berth,
and
we don't care.
And here's the thing: Bryce Young and Will Anderson are probably going to opt out. That's already been kind of talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Don't go.
And then listen, Milroe is not very good. Let's be honest.
No, I mean, because again, that's exactly what it's going to be. That's going to be the theme coming out of there. We didn't care about that because it wasn't the college football playoff. Okay, stay home.
Cotton Bowl, Tulane, and USC. I think that's a really interesting. Tulane.
It gets interesting if Caleb Williams doesn't play.
He's going to either. He's questionable right now.
Well, I mean, there's a long. What is this? December 5th. I mean, that's 3 weeks away, almost a month.
Yeah.
No.
And then the Rose Bowl, Penn State and Utah. That
State could be a pretty good ball game.
Yeah, I think all of these can be competitive. One, because if Alabama was playing Kansas State in a playoff, and a winner go home and I can advance for a chance at the playoff, I think Alabama probably wins that game going away.
If they're engaged, yeah.
But without the guy who's been masking all of their offensive problems for 2 years, I don't think they can win that one. So it's interesting because the 12-team playoff would have put a lot of really cool games on the table this year. I think it will continue to be that way because I honestly believe that right now I don't see Georgia taking this is 2011 Alabama. I don't know who's going to be in their way over the next 5 years. I just don't. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see how the 12-team playoff is going to work out over the next few years because I absolutely think there are several teams who have an opportunity to break into that. SC has finally they finally kind of caught some breaks with Lincoln Riley, and if as long as he can get another quarterback in there like a Caleb Williams, you're going to see them continue to be really good. You're going to continue to see Michigan as long as Harbaugh doesn't take his talent south to Indianapolis, which is what Colts fans are clamoring for right now.
I'd imagine that's what Ohio State fans are clamoring for as well.
They might be too. I mean, there's a lot that, I think the world of college football is in a good place right now, parity wise. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that has to do with the transfer portal.
Yeah. for better or for worse.
You saw Western Kentucky's Austin Reed, number 2 passer in the country, in the portal. You know,
so is his center. As a friend of mine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Rusty Stats, who played at Watertown. I've got a real good friend who played at Watertown years ago as well, and he just texted, Rusty is leaving WKU in transfer portal. Who needs a center? So he started at one of the service academies before he transferred to Western. I didn't know he had eligibility left, but apparently he does. So who needs a center?
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that because Alabama's right guard is transferring, and I've asked if he can transfer to the Titans and start tomorrow. Because I'm in. Can we sign him on a free agent contract right now?
Right now.
Like we got dollars. We can pay you.
And we definitely got playing time.
No question there. So do you feel like this New Year's Six slate is better than expected or worse, or are you kind of feeling good about what you're going to see over that New Year's Eve or New Year's weekend?
Well, I mean, I think it's about as good as it could be. You've got, for the most part, you know, all the teams that have been discussed in the CFP, you know, contention, basically. I plus Tulane as your group of 5 and Penn State. I mean, yeah, I think those are some great matchups. Perhaps, like you said, the Sugar Bowl notwithstanding, because Alabama's not going to be engaged in that. But some of these other games are going to be some pretty compelling matchups, I think. I'll probably try to watch most of that.
Yes, the problem is that with New Year's Day being on a Sunday and the NFL getting that day, you know, you kind of break everything up. You've got, you know, the 31st, you get the semifinals on New Year's Eve, which has not been great for television ratings. And I'm not sure that it's going to be great for television ratings this time either, considering 1 o'clock kick. I guess it's Arizona's. I don't know. Arizona's on daylight savings time. They have daylight savings time full at all times. So I don't know what the hell time that game is in Arizona.
Arizona is 2 hours ahead of us. So,
but they don't fall back.
Right. But what I'm saying is
we fell back. So they stayed an hour ahead.
But what I'm telling you is right now at this moment, it is 1 o'clock in Arizona.
Okay. I mean, you would know. You have
yes.
You have a daughter there. So
well, and a son. Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, it's so weird. I don't know what the hell time Fiesta Bowl is. Whatever it is, it's an early afternoon kick. And then you've got the Peach Bowl at 7. Georgia will have played 9 of its 13 games in the state of Georgia this year. That seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot, but I mean, to the victors go the spoils, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you don't want them playing at home, somebody needs to beat them and knock them out of that advantage. And thus far, no one has.
Thus far.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm looking forward to the Orange Bowl. I think they should make Tennessee wear Smokies and Clemson wear purple.
That's it.
And the winner gets to wear orange next year, and the loser does not get to wear orange at all.
I think they need to get a rematch in the Chick-fil-A, whatever that preseason, early season game is, and the winner gets to wear orange there.
There you go. Chick-fil-A kickoff.
Okay, so I'm told it's 2 o'clock.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking they're only 1 hour behind.
After you fall back, it goes from 2 hours to 1 hour ahead for you, is what I'm told. So it's 2 o'clock right now in Arizona.
So
little insider information there.
So it would be a 2:00 local time kick. That's not bad for New Year's Eve. You get out of there quick. You get out of there. You got plenty of time to go do whatever you want to do on New Year's Eve. Folks in Georgia, not so lucky. If it's a 4-hour game, which it probably will be, they'll have to watch the fireworks from outside the Mercedes Georgia Dome. So,
well,
or Mercedes-Benz Stadium, whatever it's called.
Just hope that they are fireworks and not guns being fired in the air.
There's that. All right. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the Blue Cross Bowl and other conference football championships that took place over the weekend. Because one of the a coach played in the conference championship game and then got fired. So there's that. We'll talk about that on the other side of Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Y'all stick around.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, as I mentioned, North Texas played in the conference championship game this week and then fired their coach.
Well, I mean, what was their record going into the conference?
6-6.
Okay, so they finished up. I assume they lost.
Yeah, they were 0-5. I'm sorry, 0-7 in postseason play under this guy. 0-7. Good question. North Texas.
I don't even know.
North Texas coach Seth Littrell. 7 years he had been with them. Finished 44-44.
7 years, 44-44, gone, huh?
Yeah, they lost to UTSA on Friday, 48-27. So he was 0-7 in postseason play, 0-5 in bowls, 0-2 in conference championship games, was on a 13-game non-conference losing streak to FBS teams, and had lost 11 straight non-conference games against G5 opponents.
Oof.
But made the conference championship game in the Conference USA.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Where does North Texas go from there, though?
Who you gonna get?
Who's knocking down the door to come coach at the University of North Texas?
Which, by the way, I guess are they staying? They're staying, right?
Where else would they go?
Oh, there's that.
I mean, I think they're staying.
I don't even know where North Texas is.
Denton, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know where that is. I mean, I know it's in North Texas.
It's in the Metroplex, I believe.
Gotcha. Someone, I don't know where it was, said North Texas. Does that mean you're basically Oklahoma?
Close.
Calm down.
Close.
But yeah, Seth Littrell loses in the conference championship game and gets fired. You know, honestly though, probably not the wrong call. But yeah, the good thing is you are in you're solid geographical location. I mean, that's a place where you would want to go. Now, Littrell, before being hired at North Texas, was the offensive coordinator at North Carolina, Indiana, and Arizona. And he played running back at Oklahoma from 97 to 2000, which means he was there with White and Hype.
Okay.
So I wonder if he might find himself a soft landing spot in Knoxville.
They do have a OC position open.
They do, in fact. So it's interesting.
And I mean, when you talk about soft landings, I mean, I'm wondering just exactly how much a offensive coordinator does under Josh Heupel.
You know, I was wondering that too. I wonder how much of an impact losing the offensive coordinator is going to really have. I don't know the answer to that. I think that Tennessee probably has a very cohesive staff where, you know, it's probably more game planning than play calling, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, though. It's interesting. It's a good thought.
Sure.
Because, I mean, Alex Golesh could have been a integral part or could have been nothing. I don't know.
Just a dude. Yeah.
I mean, he might have been just, you know, trying to recognize coverages and sending it down to Hype. I don't know. But yeah, it's a thought. I don't know the answer. Friday night, Utah took care of USC pretty good. Of course, again, Caleb Williams did injure his hamstring, but they can't be an excuse if you're USC. How about Akron making the MAC championship game? Didn't see that. Or no, that wasn't the MAC championship, was it?
No, Toledo and Ohio played.
That's right. Akron and Buffalo just played a makeup game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was going to say Akron didn't, because Akron wasn't even bowl eligible. But that makes sense. Okay. Buffalo beat Akron 23-22 on Friday, and then UTSA wins Conference USA 48-27. Did you watch any of the Big Ten championship game?
No.
Telling you, man. Purdue is worth watching just to watch Charlie Jones. Truly, he is 162 yards on 13 catches.
Wow.
The rest of the team had, 14, 17, had 19 catches. For 104 or 200 yards, 204 yards. Yeah.
So they kind of force it to him, huh?
They do. And sometimes, and I tweeted this, you know, there were times when Jones had to make contested catches and there was another guy named TJ Sheffield wide open. But here's the thing. Apparently Aiden O'Connell and Jones have been playing together since they were 8 years old.
Well, there you go.
So O'Connell was 32 of 47, 366, and 2 picks. No touchdowns. And they ran the ball for 90 yards.
90.
If you don't count O'Connell's negative 36, then a little over 120. But so there's that. But he did run for negative 36 yards. So, and he had a long run of 1.
Wow.
And they got that fake punt though. Did you see the fake punt?
I did not.
Oh man, it was so good. So, Ohio State had that fake punt called and was going to get it, but the center accidentally snapped it to the punter. And so Purdue runs it, the exact same thing, and ends up getting a first down on it. So, and that was when, at halftime, it was a good ball game. Purdue was playing with them, but
what was that final?
43-22. But it wasn't a dominant performance on the part of Michigan. Not as dominant as you would have expected it to be.
Well, you had to feel like it was going to be a little bit tough to replicate that Ohio State game.
Sure. So. Especially when you're trying to get up for Purdue. No, and not to take anything away from Purdue winning their division, but it's kind of like, it just.
Well, it's Purdue.
It's just Purdue. Other games I had checked out that Troy Coastal Carolina game. Grayson McCall said they were going to have to cut his leg off to keep him from playing in the Sun Belt Championship game, but Troy took care of business 45-26. Fresno was a 28-16. So we don't have Pick'em this week, I don't guess, because there's only one game.
Army Navy.
We should probably go through our picks. I don't even know what we had, but we don't have to do that today. I'm just saying.
Good. I'll try to get them.
We should do that before Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, Conference Championship weekend didn't really have a whole lot of super surprises. Kansas State, I thought would win. They did.
In overtime. Yeah.
Yeah. And shouldn't have been overtime. It was 28-14. They had the game in hand again. And had the game ended that way, I don't think TCU would have been in. But
you think by it going to overtime that made the difference?
I think losing in overtime like that, and they'd already beaten them once, I think that helped immensely. And that probably kept Alabama out. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. But yeah, so on top of college football championship weekend, the high school season ended. We gave you those scores earlier on the rundown. Congrats to Kevin Creasy. And as you said, Anthony Crabtree must not have been too wrong.
No, man, I really felt like they would have. I don't want to put up more of a fight is not what I mean, from a standpoint that I have no doubt that the effort was there. I would have expected them to be a little bit more successful than they were. And maybe that's just Oakland.
It's got to be, right?
And that Beach team just went to Bartlett and beat a really good Bartlett team by 11, came back to beat them
and
on the road.
50.
That's a team that went to Cane Ridge and beat what we thought was a pretty dang good Cane Ridge team. So I think Beach is pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. So Oakland is just that much better.
Right. And that's the only conclusion I can come to.
Pearl Cone had its opportunities, had its chances, ended up losing by 4 to Anderson County. But, that game and the Alcoa East Nashville game, both of them were really good football games. The score doesn't necessarily indicate it in the Alcoa East Nashville game, but that was not a 19-point game. I mean, it was much closer than the score indicates. The fourth quarter, obviously, Alcoa just with depth, man. They've got 100 players over there, and East Nashville has, maybe 25 or 30 that play. Yeah. And those guys are going both ways. But Pearl Cone and the kid from Pearl Cone, number 8, that made the catch, the one-handed catch. Did you see that highlight?
Reed?
Oh my goodness.
He had his right arm. I mean, the defensive back had inside technique. He was running side right next to him. He had his right arm pinned down. He just caught it with his left hand and arm and hugged it to himself and scored.
What an impressive catch
as
there.
As good a catch as you're going to see at the high school level.
And did you happen to see the Beach catch in double coverage against Oakland?
Yeah.
That also a candidate for catch of the weekend. So, some really great football was played in Chattanooga. And if you've not had an opportunity to go watch those 9 games over the weekend and just take the time and go, you should really do that.
If you're a high school football fan, if you call yourself a high school football fan, the Blue Cross Bowl is a can't miss.
Even watching, I mean, you watch McKenzie and Clay County, that it's 34-14, but it's still entertaining football.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, even CPA and Lipscomb Academy, a 42-0 ball game. I mean, it's
you're watching
high school football.
You're watching the best of the best. Knoxville West knocked off Page 47-13. We talked about it and thought West was easily the best team in Class 5A for most of the year. Page kept it close. I think it was 19-13 at one point. And then, second half again, West just took care of business doing what they do. I was most surprised, though, by that Tyner Riverside score, man. 26-24. I did not think Riverside was going to be able to keep it that close. And
I'm not surprised they kept it that close, man. They're sneaky good. And again, really, really, it really kind of hurt for Mount Pleasant to watch that.
I'm sure it did. The only reason I say that is because I thought East Robertson was really good. And the way that Tyner took care of them on the road, I thought nobody's touching this team. So for Riverside to do that in their backyard, to go basically on the road to take on Tyner and come up just a couple of points short, that's a really impressive job by that Riverside team, and got to give them credit. But yeah, the football was fantastic. It was a good weekend, and you got to love it.
Yep. I mean, great way to end the season, other than the East-West All-Star game that's up at Austin P again this Friday night. So,
Mo, I'm going to push the Titans because I just don't feel like talking about it.
Okay. I'm not going to fight you for it.
And the reason I want to do that is because I want to get to a couple of things in college, and that's the transfer portal. You have it mentioned up here, Vanderbilt, quarterback Mike Wright, and running back, what's his first name?
Ray Davis.
Ray Davis. Both of those guys have entered the transfer portal. I'm not surprised to see Mike Wright in the portal. He's got that. He's got a year left of eligibility.
I think he's got 2.
And
maybe.
Clearly Clark Lee was leaning toward AJ Swan.
And I mean, that's fine. That's certainly his decision to make. But then it's Mike Wright's decision to make to go and enter the portal with 2 years of eligibility, as it says in his graphic on his Twitter account. So
what is Mike Wright, to me, if you watch Mike Wright play, he can play at most Power 5 schools.
Well, I mean, if Anthony Richardson can do what he's done, Mike Wright can play in the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he would be a great fit in a lot of different offenses. One including Auburn. I think he would be a phenomenal fit.
They may have their guy, though, man. I mean, Ashford may be their guy.
I'm telling you that Mike Wright is a better quarterback than Robbie Ashford. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not their guy. I'm saying that if I had the opportunity to choose between the two, I'd take Mike Wright.
Mike Wright. I won't argue with that.
Mainly because he's proven it. He's won 4 ball games, including 2 SEC games.
At Vanderbilt.
So there's that. But yeah, the transfer portal, and I said this, I said this on Twitter. Had a guy who, I covered in high school, who ended up going to Alabama, is now the head football coach at my hometown school. Played in the NFL. If he had played today, he would never have sniffed the NFL, because he never would have sniffed Alabama, because the transfer portal, it really hurts late bloomers, guys who are, get their first looks as seniors. And, the problem is that you're going to find yourself, if you're in the portal, how many times did we see it last year when there were, 40 or 50 guys in the portal at signing day, and quarterbacks specifically, who ended up having to go to places that were lower on the totem pole than they were.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this pretty much since COVID, man. We talked to former Columbia State baseball coach Mike Korn that summer, back in the summer of 2020, and he said that this was going to impact high school kids and high school athletes, and was going to continue to do it for a pretty good while. And here we are, almost 3 years later, and it's still the transfer portal and the COVID eligibility that a lot of guys got. I mean, we were just talking about Rusty Stats, the kid from Watertown who transferred to Western Kentucky from a service academy, still got some time left, and he's back in the portal again.
And here's the thing, it's making these prep schools pretty good football teams. I mean, you could probably watch the Tennessee Valley Prep and some of these other prep schools that we've seen pop up. It's pretty good football, because you've got really good players playing, prep school ball or JUCO ball that would have never seen prep school or JUCO.
Right.
3 or 4 years ago. Dominic Lovett from Missouri. Boy, I tell you, I'd love to see him in Tennessee Orange. That guy can play. The wide receiver there. And I'm just looking at some of the lists here, and it's insane. Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State quarterback, who, started like 13 or 14 games. It just feels like there's a lot of kids who are going to end up in a bad spot because of just basically
or in no spot
because they don't have anywhere to go.
All
right. Virginia Tech quarterback Jason Brown has entered the transfer portal. Brown transferred from South Carolina ahead of the 2022 season and threw passes in 3 games. Don't know what he did. He just threw passes.
Hey.
Well, this is a full-time job, keeping up with the transfer portal.
Well, and I think that you are seeing that as you look at college coaching staffs, not just in football either. I mean, there are folks whose responsibility is the transfer portal.
Isn't that something? Isn't this all something? I mean, it's just trying to keep up with it, even as not casual fans, not casual observers, but, as journalists from the outside looking into these programs, understanding what it is like, because we've been inside these programs. We talk to college coaches, but also looking at it from afar. It's just crazy to think about.
It really is. And I don't know, again, where it stops and how you mitigate the situation so that the high school athlete isn't so adversely impacted by it.
I'm not sure you can, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all the time we got today. We
Hey,
got 20 seconds.
before we go, congratulations to the crime dog.
Well, I was going to move that to tomorrow.
Well,
we'll talk more about it tomorrow because he deserves more than 10 seconds. And but congrats, crime dog. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, Chris, Justin, see ya.